Wow. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you. This is really, really cool to be a part of this group. A little intimidating, obviously, since you're all so close, and I see all these friends. But I'm very honored to be here and talk with you all. I appreciate Ed and Renee's invite. So I guess a little bit about me. So I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. I teach at a public high school. I've taught there for 15 years. We've got about 1,300 students. And we've gone through a major metamorphosis. The last few years, our school went through an $85 million renovation. So I did have a television studio, fully functional, that was redone and is even more beautiful now. So for about 3 years, my enrollment went way down. We got this beautiful studio. We also got a video scoreboard and a brand new stadium. So I created a brand new sports media class to create content for that. And so I went from serving about 90 students for the first 9 or 10 years at Ladue to serving about 40 to 50 while we were under construction. So now next year I have 144 enrolled in the program, which is really, really great. We do all kinds of video production, and in every video class that I teach, media literacy is embedded while we do it. So while we don't take a unit and talk about media literacy, while we are in the pre-production, well, really every phase, production and post-production is really where a lot of the media literacy comes out. And pre-production, when we watch videos and we model, I always model videos for the students first, whether it's professional video or student work. And we dissect it, and we're very intentional with the diverse aspects and who our audience is, and always talk about those elements before we produce the piece. And so I have students, freshmen through seniors, and I teach them the basics in the television studio. I teach them the basics of field production work. Really what I've been teaching them a lot of is how to use their phone as a camera and a tool, and an editing machine as a full publishing machine. But we do have a computer lab. We have everything we do is on Apple. And I have kids we tell stories, and we tell all different kinds of stories. The foundation is news packages. So I have, let's see, what are a couple examples that I have ready to go? Well, they're both news packages, simply because that's kind of the foundational piece of what we do. Oh, you jumped to share. Oh, you shared the screen for me. Okay.
I'm just sharing your website. So
oh, okay. Yeah, that's our website. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. You can share if you want to, Don.
Say that again.
You can share too. I'm just giving people access to the website so they can kind of see what there is to see here.
Yeah, and as you saw, we haven't updated it obviously because since February we had a February show out, and then the coronavirus hit, so we've been out of school. But that on our website lhstv.net, our students produce a student television show that's journalism in nature. It actually was a top 4 finalist in a national contest just a few weeks ago that we submitted it for. And it includes one of the stories I'm going to share with you today, which is a beautiful story of a student actually who is a sophomore, and her mother's been going to Belize for the last 20 years, improving education in Belize. And so her daughter goes with her every year, and I had her as a freshman, and she said, Mr. Goble, could I do a documentary on my mom's program in Belize, and I'll shoot it all on my phone? And I said, that would be amazing. So she has hours and hours and hours of footage. So we decided to turn that into a shorter news story, news package. And that actually just won an award as well, a state level award. So I have that one to share with you. And then I've had my students continue working while they've been at home. They've done a number of different things. They've done video diaries, documenting their day. I told them no matter how mundane their activities are, they are going to be primary sources in about 10, 20, and 50 years in social studies classes when high school students study the coronavirus pandemic. And so they've done daily video diaries, they've done silly videos, and then one student interviewed her sister who's home from college and got her sister's perspective on now being home and having to finish out her year online from college. And so she decided to do that in a news package form, shot it all on her phone, and used iMovie because every student has a MacBook Air, so that's what they have access to. I do teach Final Cut Pro, and that's what my preference, but doesn't really matter. Well, I always tell my kids it doesn't matter the technology, it's all about story. So as long as they have a beginning, middle, and an end, and they know who their audience is, that's really what our focus is for everything, which and the phone has really democratized that, because there's so many apps that I'm like, I don't care what you guys use. Just tell a good story, have know who the audience is, be able to justify your intentional thoughts, and we'll publish it. Let's go. And so the kids really learn by fire. Everything is project based. We don't do any tests. All of their assessments are through their pre-production, production, and post-production work. Every student does have their own digital portfolio. That's how they submit all of their work. So they have to blog about every video or piece of media content that they produce. So I have a couple of those examples as well too, and I can direct you to where those are on the site. So would you like me to share those now, Renee? Would that be a good time to do that?
I would love to show a piece of student media and give this group time to ask you questions and to talk about what they like about it. And then, then I think the resource sharing can begin. And then we'll see where we go from there.
So I'm going to share the story from the student who recorded this in Belize on her phone to show you the amazing power that the phone possesses. And there's her blog. Let me pull up. There's quarantine life. Okay.
The organization Teachers for a Better Belize, or TFAB, has been helping improve the quality of education in Belize for over 20 years. Spady Elementary teacher and member of the organization, Christy Eilerman, gives us a look at how TFAB helps education in Belize.
I've been doing TFAB for probably 5 years now. And we first started off, doing more of like a workshop for just the teachers. But this year we're trying something new. We're going actually into the schools, which I think is amazing. And we're actually working with the kids. And while we're working with the kids, we're really modeling for the teachers. And I feel like the teachers are getting a lot more out of it because they can actually see, what we've been telling them for years, which I agree, even myself, it's hard for me to learn without trying and watching somebody else do it. And I feel like it's a great partnership that we have right now.
Before, TFAB used to teach us as teachers, and it's true, they teach us all these things, but taking it back is kind of difficult. It's like, I didn't see exactly how to do it with the children. But now the experience I gained for this past 2 weeks is I'm so excited. I want to take it back to my classroom, and I would like to see, for example, these children next year to continue with this learning, and want to see what would be the difference in the outcome of their school year.
I'm doing superpowers, which really is reading strategies for the kids. And so they have their little masks, and they're learning to be super readers, and really just focusing on using their finger to point, and rereading, and using the pictures when they're reading, just all kinds of different strategies for them, and making it fun. There are so many things and so many rewards for being a part of TFAB. One of the biggest ones is touching all these kids' lives. And it's also going just to another country and seeing that kids are the same everywhere. They're all kids at heart, and they all just want to learn, and they're just eager.
I'm Maria Dolan, reporting for Ladue View.
Wow. Wow, that is so cool. So how about if we do this? How about if we break up into small groups and we make some comments and we ask some questions, and then we come back together with Don. Give me a thumbs up if you understand what we're going to do. We're going to talk about that video in our small groups. So let me just see if I can. Yes, I didn't hear that. Sorry.
Wow.
Mom, what is this? What is that?
What is this? What is that? Okay, so I'm going to assign you guys into rooms. There are the rooms. They're opening now. We're going to do about just 6 or 7 minutes of discussion about that video, and then we'll come back and ask Don some questions.
That was a really neat piece.
What do you
That
like
was.
about it?
Yeah, I thought it was fabulous.
Love the kids.
The
with
masks.
mask, and the little boy who was standing there with his stomach, chest all puffed out. Oh my God. That was such a great image.
It was great confidence and pride, and yeah, that was really neat. I like the empowerment that the mask gave the children. Just that symbol of you're a superhero.
Yeah.
That's a great image.
How very, very much more valuable the modeling was than the professional development.
Yeah.
You know, I found myself thinking I would kill to come in to a class and do a lesson with teachers there, and then have time to talk about what happened and what did you notice and why. I used to do that back in my youth, but I haven't been able to do that for a long time. So I got to do that at the Russell Byers Charter School in Philadelphia for 3 years, and I just loved it. I loved it.
So that's making me think. So for instance, sometimes we pull teachers out of the classroom, get subs for all of them, like bring in somebody to sit and do this professional development with them, and then they go back out. But maybe a better model is for the one teacher to prepare something with this person, and then they go in the classroom and do it together, and the other teachers are there to observe and assist. Do you think that?
That's one strategy. When we were at the charter school in Philadelphia, we tried two strategies. In the summer, we offered a summer camp. And we ran the summer camp, and the teachers came in to observe the summer camp, and then then the kids would continue on with the playground and this and the other stuff, and then we would talk with the teachers about what did you see, what did you notice, how could you adapt this, how does it connect. And so they had time to observe, and then they had time to like process. And I think it's really interesting to think how you would do it in the context of professional development day. It would definitely require some close planning with educators, right? I mean, in a way that was probably what these folks had to do. But it looked like in some cases that the co-teachers were kind of being like assistant teachers or sort of helpers in these lessons, right?
Yeah.
What else did you notice about that, how that video was constructed? Could you believe that video was constructed by a 15-year-old?
Amazing.
Obviously, she's really passionate. Her mom, the teacher, was a big influence in her life. I think the metaphor of the superpowers mask, and I guess it's really about the power of metaphors more generally, to inspire.
But yeah, it was really well structured. Like it kind of introduced the thing. You saw the lesson. You saw the end with the kids all happy. So that it was a good arc.
And there was only one teacher interview, right? There was one teacher interview, and he said, "I learned better this way." Was there a student interview? No.
I would have really liked that. Yeah.
There was not a student interview.
Missing that same thing. I was thinking it's so great to see the kids with their superhero masks and to hear from mom, but I wanted to hear from some of the kids.
So that's a question we might ask Don about the voices of kids. But clearly the explanation, the narration from the teacher, we didn't hear from the filmmaker herself though, did we? The girl. Right. So this was really not her story. It was her mom's story.
Yep.
Sweet. Okay, we'll call back. We'll call everybody back to. Okay, we're back.
Whoa.
Wow, that was fast. Okay, comments and questions about that film.
I saw Ed's hand. Ed, you want to go ahead?
I was just in the middle of before we got bounced back. I was cut mid-sentence, so I'll finish my
So was I.
When you make a video, you really understand how media messages are created and how they're constructed, what's left out, what's included. So the very fact that that young person had that experience makes them a better consumer of media.
Absolutely.
That's completely the idea I've always held in mind. And I knew that early on in my teaching, because when I knew I had them hooked, when they would, and I would teach cinematography, I'd teach how to interview, and I'd have them make their own piece. And then they would come in and they would say, Mr. Goble, you have ruined television for me. You have ruined films for me, because I'm paying attention to all these things I never paid attention to before. Whether it was who was on camera, how old are they, what color are they, what socioeconomic, and then a low angle, and why did they use a high, and they're like, you ruined it. And I was like, no, I did the opposite. I'm helping you. And then that's great, because now it's a two-way street that way. They're not just consuming, listening to a message, not knowing how it's being delivered. They know why all of these different lighting techniques and cinematic angles and all of these other things or elements are so important when they watch the professional media. And that's always been the goal. And I think every kid walking out of my class will tell you that at minimum, that's the message they learn.
Marie, you're next.
So I had a thought as I was watching. I think one of the comments the teachers made was seeing how things are being done. Like, I'm the same learner, like this visual learner, and I have to see people do things to get it. And I was wondering, what type of example have you shown them to kind of know? Because even almost as a writer, as a filmmaker, eventually you develop a style where you're like, you know what, I should do it this way. Like, what do you show them where they can say, you know what, I'm going to shoot this way, or share the story in a certain stylistic manner?
That's a great question. From a storytelling perspective, well, it depends. So if it's, our foundation is news packages. So Steve Hartman is my mentor media expert. So we watch Steve Hartman stories, and we literally deconstruct second by second what we're seeing and what we're hearing, from, you know, the visuals of the location where he's at, to what he's saying and the writing of his portion, to the short sound bites. And so we break that down, and I have them try to recreate a feature story in that regard, telling a story that someone might not ever normally hear, okay? In this particular case, I actually showed Maria 3 different student documentaries that had been made before on location out of state that were longer formats. So I had her watch what other students produced. What that did was it gave her some ideas. It inspired her that, hey, these other kids could do it, but it reinforced all of the lessons. I sat with her and I said, do you see how he established the location in Haiti first? Do you see now how he went to an interview with the main character? Do you see now where he kind of added some music for emotion, but did not add it for that particular part? So she and I watched, I didn't watch, one of them was like a 30-minute documentary. I didn't watch the full 30 minutes. We watched maybe 2 or 3 minutes of it together. And then I said, now you go watch it and then take some notes. Like, what did you learn? What styles did you like? Did you not like? How could you do it differently? You know, because it was not perfect, obviously, the student video that I showed. And she came back with some of her own ideas, but it also reinforced to her, like, okay, I get it. Now I know that's why angles are used that way, or now I know I need to think of some music and those types of things. And as I was telling our small group, I get kids thinking in sequences before they go out and film and understand what those sequences are doing. So for example, there's a 5-shot sequence technique where you show a person's hands, then their face, then a wide shot of what they're doing, then over the shoulder of what they're doing, and then some other creative angle, high, low, whatever. And that, it's telling a story of one person in one place, but you're really delivering a lot of different detail. And then I teach them a 6-shot sequence, which is wide shot to establish the location, medium to zoom in on the characters, close up, extreme close up, and then a wide shot from a different location with the same actors or characters. And if you notice in that scene, like, there was a wide shot of the classroom with the teacher, and then a medium shot of some of the students working, and then a close-up with the girl with her finger on the text, and then another close-up of the boy on the book, and then an extreme close-up of a smiling face, and then another wide shot of the classroom and the teachers. And so they're going into these settings already knowing, like, that this is what, because I was telling the group, in a story like that, she doesn't know what may happen, but she can look at the action and know that she's got to capture it in that certain way, because if she does, she can come back and edit it in a way that'll make sense to the viewer as a visual story.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, Marie, you did something really cool that we haven't done very much on this Hangout, which is you somehow indicated that you wanted to speak by raising your hand. Can you teach us how to do that? Because that will help other people who want to have make a comment or ask a question, learn something about how to do that in Zoom.
So I click on participants, and then you see everybody's list. And then at the bottom, you see all the different features that raise hand, yes, no, go slower. But you have to click on participants at the end, at the bottom. I don't know what your screen look like. So click on participant. You may have to click twice, and then you see the whole list. And then at the bottom, for me, I'm seeing raise hand, yes, no, go slower, go faster. But I don't know if you're the only one who sees it. Oh yeah, now I'm seeing everybody doing it.
You guys, we just keep learning. It's so wonderful. Okay, Pam, and then Ariel.
Yeah, I put my question in the chat as well. So I'm wondering how much in front of the class reflection time you have when the students have finished or are in process of making their films and videos, and how, if at all, has that changed since now that you're, however you're doing your learning now?
So that's a good question. So during the production phase, students are responsible for independent work, although they may collaborate together. So if they're telling, they may tell the same subject, but 3 different styles of the story or 3 different angles of the story. So they're collaborating in small groups, because otherwise, if they're all telling the same story, then they can all just sit and watch one student edit, and nobody's learning that way then. So it really gets them thinking also deeper about 3 different angles to the same subject of the story. When we're done with the product, we do review as an entire class, which is really puts them on the spot. And we do a plus minus on the board, and we always start with the minus side first. And I say areas of improvement, not things that are bad, but areas to improve. And inevitably what you see is a theme for all the stories that maybe the audio wasn't the clearest, or maybe the story didn't make sense, or maybe they only had, freshman boys, white freshman boys, and you start seeing these. And then we do the things that they did well. And of course, then those are the things I'm like, write those down. We've got to repeat those, because it's nice that we did it once, but if you don't do it again, then you've missed an opportunity. So we do that. And I got to tell you though, that is a huge learning tool. And kids, I think, learn through that process more than anything. Although I do sit with them and offer written feedback, I'll do audio feedback. Sometimes I'll screen and I'll annotate and mark up their videos if I need to, depending upon the amount of support that they need. So there's all these different levels. And before they submit it, I always do the 3 before me. So 3 students in the class have to watch it before they say, hey, Mr. Goble, will you look at this and see if it's okay? Because like when they think they're done, I'm like, when you think you're done, you've only just begun. So have 3 before me watch it. And then I walk around the room and I watch what they're doing. Now, to answer your other question, how to do that now, it's impossible. 2 things have occurred. First, I tried to do weekly Zoom meetings, and our administrator said that the kids are getting zoomed out by their core classes. And there was conflicting times, and they would skip the elective, which is what I am, to go to the core. So I would get, out of 25 kids, I would get 5 on a Zoom call. And that was great for those 5. However, so I stopped the Zoom calls, and I've done more what I do because I teach an online course for Loyola University in New Orleans for summer online courses, where I record a video at the beginning of the week, and then I offer a few notations during the week, and I'll comment, do private comments. We use Google Classroom as my feedback tool, and it's not very good. And through this whole quarantine, I'm averaging only about 40% engagement of all of my students. For whatever reason, we're supposed to give the benefit of the doubt, and so we do. There are a few kids I still have not heard from in the last 6 weeks. Nothing. I've even called home. We've emailed parents. We've called parents. 0. It is what it is.
Thank you for sharing. We totally sympathize, and we've been talking about that for a long time. Ariel, and then Darren.
So Don, my question is, I asked you in a small group the beginning process, so I want to focus now on the end process. You mentioned that the student who did the Belize project, she came with hours of video. How do you coach your students in the process of editing down to a final product?
Great question. Yeah, whether it's hours or whether it's 10 or 15 minutes, what I coach them on the front end is finding a main character. Who's the main character? And even if it's an interview, I use that word character very intentionally because they can relate that to story. And that's what they're doing, is telling a story. So they start with the main character. Now, sometimes in this case, she wasn't quite sure. She thought her mom might be the main character. But when she came back, we found this other teacher, Miss Eilerman, was really more, was one that connected with the other Belize teacher. So her main character changed when she came back. And the only way we knew that was we sat down, I said, watch all of your interviews first and either take notes of time marks or transcribe the parts that you think sound the best. And then let's look at those, and then we'll decide who the main character is. And the main character will then dictate the story. So while she's doing a longer, she'll end up doing probably a 30-minute documentary through all of this, and there'll be multiple main characters. She interviewed about 8 people. Out of those 8, it appeared that Miss Eilerman, the one woman you heard from LaDuke Spady talking, and then that teacher from Belize who partnered with her, that seemed like the best relationship out of all of the footage. So I said, put the rest of it aside, focus just on Miss Eilerman and her classes and what she did. And that's how she was able to put together a 2-minute video. And I'll tell you, because she was so overwhelmed. She's like, oh my God, Mr. Goble, where do I start? And it's exactly where I told her to start. And it took some time, right? Because she had to listen to all 8 interviews. And she pushed so hard for her mothers to be the main interview, because I think she thought her mom should be or wanted to be. But her mom talked really slow, did not give the best answers. And there wasn't a teacher who really connected with her like the other one. So I said, look, you got to cut. Mom will be a part of the longer version, but we got to cut her loose because it's not, right?
Wow.
That was tough for her. But a great,
perfect thing to learn in adolescence, though, really.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful story, Don. Oh my God. Darren, you're next.
So what's the overall, like, how many pieces do your students produce? Do you have a goal for the students? Maybe you already talked about that. I'm the perpetually tardy student, so I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So they are on a 3 to 4 week production cycle. Typically about 4 weeks. They have to turn in some form of media, but actually every 2 weeks. So by the 2 weeks of the month, they have to have their footage. And then by the end of the month, they have to have a finished product. And that finished means it's done, it's uploaded to the web, it's embedded in their portfolio, and they've blogged about it. And so along the way, they may blog a little bit, they get their interview footage, they may get whatever video footage for their story that they're getting. And so I offer by that 2 week mark that I will review whatever they have. Or other students have then some work to review what they've had. So in this case, then they can say, well, I think your story's better off going in that angle. It's better than just sending them off and then saying, I'll check with you in 4 weeks and looking over their shoulder, because they get lost. And kids will work to the deadline, which, we were told to set deadlines for 11:59 on Sundays for this quarantine. And I get emails at 11:41, I can't upload, it won't work. It's like, what do you expect me to do now? So in this case, I give shorter chunk deadlines so that I can physically see that they have something recorded. So at that 2 weeks, if they're like, oh, well, I don't have anything recorded yet because of X, Y, and Z, I'm like, you've just blown 2 weeks. So now what are you going to do? Right?
Yeah. Wow. Powerful. Scott, you get the last question, and then we're going to do something new.
So one of my research interests is extensibility of co-curricular and extracurricular use of these projects. I saw Primary Source, 50 years in the future there. That was great. I'm looking at your website. It looks like you repurposed these films or set them in a rhetorical context in so many different public ways, with journalism and sports, and you have a film festival. I'm curious if your program works with individual teachers. I saw anti-Semitism as one of the topics, and utilizes the media in some way to maybe bring in people who you were interviewed and sort of build the curriculum around some of this media. And if you can explain, some of those examples. That's to me, that's what defines some of these projects in a way that might be different than a paper or some other kind of learning assessment.
It's a great question. First and foremost, I wish our teachers were more supportive of our program, but they're not. And so that student who created that anti-Semitism piece, as important as that is, and there's so many contexts you could use it, I highly doubt that any of them will. That story stemmed, though, from an issue of an anti-Semitic tweet that blew up on social media. So everything is driven by the students. The story ideas are driven by the students. We didn't do sports until students wanted to do sports. We didn't do films until students wanted to do films. And the stories they choose are driven by their ideas. Now, while we do deliver our content to the school on digital signage throughout the school, through designated days for them all to watch, that's not where our audience is. You know who our audience is? Or all of you. We have a larger following nationally than we do in our own building, which is just bizarre to me and upsetting, but I gave up that fight a long time ago. Just knowing that I wanted it, which in essence is a great lesson for our students to know that your local audience may not like you as much as your national audience. And really the global national audience is really better maybe in some cases than just your narrow blinders of your local audience. And so we embrace that, and the students embrace that mentality. And I will say, though, they have produced some work, again, not in our own building, but there was a PSA our kids did this last year on not the dangers of social media, but the impact of social media and negative tweets. And I posted that nationally and on Facebook and all over, and I had schools contact me and say, can we use that for our character education program? And so in those cases, then those students are like, oh my God, really, that's being used? And so that's really the power of putting our kids' work out there. You never know who it might attach to. So maybe someday someone will look at that anti-Semitism video and be like, wow, that's perfect for my unit, right?
Wow, that was cool. And you can see the chat is blowing up with people making really interesting observations and comments. Thank you for the people who are back channeling. Don, in the next 10 minutes, will you give us a tour of stuff you think we should see and know, and that you want us to continue our exploration to understand? You've taught us a lot in the last 45 minutes, but you want to give us a tour of what else we might want to look at if we want to really understand your approach, your contributions, and your way of doing a youth media production.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that opportunity to do that. The first place I'll take you to is the student website. For example, so this is the blog piece that the student wrote about Belize. And this is where I get a lot of great background information, because I wasn't in Belize. I don't know some of the trials and tribulations she had. Look, she had over 800 pieces of footage. I didn't know that. Like, that's incredible, even that she counted that. So that's kind of an example of a student blog. But where you can go to view a lot of this, here's our homepage, lhstv.net. Everything on here is student produced, except for this one. This senior lights one I produced, and I did that for our seniors as a tribute, since they're losing out on graduation. The district asked me to produce that, and it was kid related. But on here you can find different images and videos, photos of the week, projects. Here's that PSA I was talking about that other schools have used now as character ed. Here's an example. The Do View is our student television show. This is the one that was just finished 4th out of top 10 in a national contest. And it's really because it's got great content, and it has the Belize story, it has the anti-Semitism story, and a couple of other really important stories. We highlight student websites. This is a motivation for them to really and here's one, Sean Ferguson. So Sean is a senior. He did a good video, but he wrote a really nice piece about it. It didn't fit for our show. I don't include all the student, the student editor and directors, they say, and we decide, let's not include every student work, but we can still promote and feature their website. And then we'll have maybe a featured page, like our sports page. And so if you just go up, you can visit all of these, and every title has a subcategory. Some subcategories haven't been updated in a while, but students run this site. So here, if you want student work, Ladue Schools Today, we haven't produced that in a while. That was a district production that I hosted, but my students were the technical crew to give them a live to tape experience, all the different types of programming, and then the team page. So if you would like to broadcast photos, you can see what our studio looks like, a team page. If you go to the team page, this is where you can visit all of our students and their individual digital portfolios and website work. So it's a great place that we typically update every week. We have clearly not done that since we've been out. The other website I would direct you to is my own personal one, and that's dongoble.com. Today, I was really excited to release an interview I had with Joe Buck from Fox Sports. Through a lot of connections I made, I was able to get Joe. He spent an hour with me. It was amazing. What was great about it was that he's like, I've got 15 or 20 minutes. And then an hour later, I was like, okay, I'm going to let you go and wrap it up. So I created a web series for my students as curriculum. As you see, I've done 33 so far in the last 5 weeks. Media makers. And these are all either former students in my program or professionals in the media business with great insight into their jobs. And it covers every form: film, television, sports, broadcast engineers for technical side of it, print writers, national news reporters, local news reporters, video production for Super Bowl commercials. I mean, you name it. We have a lot of different pieces of it. And you can find that under a couple places. One is published. There's the Media Maker series. And then a couple of Apple Education books that I wrote. And Ed has used this one, I know, 6-word stories, 6 unique shots, interview an expert. And then if you go to my resources page, that's really probably a great place for you all to live if you need some things. So you can either click on resources or go to one of the sub pages. So I curated a lot of different online broadcast lessons, like, because teachers are like, well, what can they do to produce while they're at home? So going through my Facebook pages and having some curriculum myself, I built this page and I tweeted it out and I pushed it out there to give teachers all these different, these are all hyperlinks to just, pick one and go with it. And if it's maybe a couple students have even found some different ideas, and I'm like, yeah, go for it. But teachers are like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, well, here are a bunch, and they're not all my ideas, but I pride myself on curating. I don't know if stealing is the right word. I use curating other people's work, but a lot of this stuff is on here as well. And then I've developed, one of the things I kept constantly getting was emails. Don, can you share your curriculum? So I've decided to put it alphabetically as hyperlinks again for the beginning teacher, for the advanced teacher, for a core curriculum teacher. You could find something on here that might be of use to you. And so there's a lot there, a lot to surf through. So with all of your time, but this is really, so this broadcast curriculum, online broadcast lessons, or if you even just click on resources, again, I try to just curate in a lot of different ways where some of it's overlap of information. Other times it's just maybe gets a little bit more in depth to show you what you can do. So on my site, that's really where I would probably live. It's just kind of either on the published page or the resource page, or I'll put the freshest stuff on the homepage, such as the Joe Buck interview. I did a podcast about teachers dealing with online distance learning that just recently came out. So you can see a lot of different things. And I'll give a shout out to my son, who's 14. He's in video journalism in 8th grade, and he had to do a news story about, being at home during the coronavirus. So he did a nice news package story on my show, Media Maker. So I'm using that now as a description of what my show is all about. So anyway, I'll stop right there. But there's a ton for you. And what I always offer is if you visit the site and you like something on there, but you're like, I need more help or advice, or can you explain it? You know, shoot me an email, a text, a direct message, and I'll help you any way I can.
Wow. Let's give Don Goble a great big round of applause. That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. Now, Don, I have a question for you. This is the last 10 minutes of our virtually viral hangouts. You've been an incredible inspiration today. And you can see from the facial expressions of everybody that this was a really meaningful session. But I have a hard question for you. And maybe I guess I want the other team members to chip in on this. So it's my dearest, most sincere, lifelong fantasy that somebody like you would be in every high school in America, and that every high school student in America would get an opportunity to become a multimedia storyteller. And I've spent 30 years trying to get closer to that dream. What obstacles interfere with the approach that you're using becoming normative in every American school? And I guess I'm opening that up to everybody to comment on. What are the obstacles that are in the way of that? And then maybe how could we remove some of those obstacles?
I'll start. There are a lot. So it's not an easy answer, to your question. Number one, it starts, I think, with administration. And a belief that this form of education is really valuable and important. There are too many schools who don't value this subject matter. They don't value media literacy. They don't value video production, as they think it's fun. Like kids will just go out in the halls and record stupid, silly videos and TikToks, which a lot of them do, but they don't understand with the right structure in place, the power that it can bring. So it takes a lot of actually not a lot of administrative support. It takes one. And there was an assistant superintendent of HR who hired me and had that belief that our school and our district should have this. And through hiring me with some experience, we've now filtered it. We have video journalism, small pieces of it, in all of the elementary schools and in the middle school. But that happened over time. And it happened because I said I would go help all of them, because I felt like that'd be a great feeder program, and you can never start too soon. But it took an assistant superintendent of HR to believe that it was valuable and important, which is why it's happening in my school. So whether it's a principal or a superintendent, it needs to start there. The second major obstacle is, this is what I learned. This is my undergraduate degree. I did it in high school. I've lived it. I've loved it. This is my life. I still produce to this day, which you see the web series that I'm doing. And there aren't a lot of teachers who are video producers, or have that, scholarly background in production. And they don't need it. There aren't enough risk taker teachers, I think, to jump in and say, I will learn it and I will own it and I will do it with the kids. There's too big of a fear that they will fail in the eyes of their children because they are subject matter experts. And so this will be a subject matter they aren't an expert in. And so it needs a champion. Every school needs a champion. So I think that also comes into play then from admin, hiring people, looking for people who are champions of media literacy and media production. And they don't look for that. They look for science, English, math, and social studies and foreign language. They don't have a focus on that. There might be a paper, we might have a studio, or we might have a club, or, the library media specialist, we can fit it in there, or, it can be a 2-week unit over here. And for my library media specialists, I feel for you, because I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you probably don't get the support that you desperately need from resources, from financial, from time. I see some heads shaking. You don't get it. I mean, I feel your pain on that. You don't get it. And that again comes from that needs administrative support. And you don't get that support because they don't value it. They only support things they value. And I know that for this reason, and then I'll shut up. But I have not changed my teaching in 15 years. when our studio went away and my numbers went down, I had 3 justify your job meetings with administration. Like, what are you doing to get your enrollment back up? So now I've done nothing different than to now having a brand new studio and a stadium scoreboard and having 144 students to serve next year. I've done nothing. Now I'm needed. Now Don can do a senior lights video. Now Don can create a brand new sports media class. Now we need Don. Don, we have digital signage. We need student video. Now we need you. There's no justification why they, it's just, I've done nothing different. It's all what they value. And so the message is try to get them to value what you're doing. Push the kids' work out there and show them the power of student voice and parents' voice. Because you get the parents on board and the community on board, admin might listen.
Wow, somebody wants to comment or respond or reflect on that the set of powerful insights. Ariel.
Just a quick comment. It's not a matter that they don't value you, but it's what you said, Don. With me, they wanted a video club, like after school. So first you need the place, and it's hard to do something with just a short amount of time. I've been where I am for the past 6 years. People really value the media literacy that I brought in, but I excite both the students and the teachers with the tools and the resources, and it's up to them to go run with it.
Great point. Marie.
I am muted. No, I think at the end I was just like, boom, it's like gem drops, in terms of like so many barriers. But at the same time, I mean, I keep thinking even within our group in terms of having sort of like one rebel. And at this point, I'm considering you a rebel, even though I just meet you now, in terms of like that one person who's going to take that risk and go in spite of all the no-sayers and all, because there are also people waiting for you to fall on your face, which have experience, because it's so different from the core curriculum where they're like, that's not going to work, or they're not interested, but it will, because that's the first language of the students, because you're always going to get media natives to come in your classroom in any era beyond today and so forth. And so once they're into it, that's always that first sign this is valuable. Because if the students are learning, that should be the first sign that we need to get on board, versus the reverse of convincing the adults to get it. But I think get the students, get the parents, but also, like you were saying, make the work visible and the audience is already there. So whether it's local or national, even if it's not around you, sometimes you'll be shocked like where that audience is gonna come and validate what you've been doing. And you don't have to do anything different. It's just simply showing the new champions that you have for what you've always done.
So beautifully put. Thank you so much for sharing.
Can I say something, Renee?
Yeah, I think
because I think at the heart of it lies something that transcends all schools, from like K through 12 through college and everything, and that is just the hierarchy of disciplines. And it goes back to something, lots of people have already touched on, what's valued and what's not. And it's shocking to me, because I think I mentioned this last week. I was revisiting Len Masterman's sort of classic media literacy book in England, and he was complaining about the exact same thing in the 1970s and 80s about how people didn't take seriously the study of television and the role that television played in. And that's still the case, unfortunately, because people associate it with pop culture, and therefore that's not important, right? Biology is important, math's important, reading's important, and of course all those things are, but we're still fighting the same ongoing battle to justify the importance of this stuff.
And yet we heard today that the first person videos that the high school students at Ladue High School make about the COVID crisis will be primary source material 50 years from now, right? So Ed, I want you to have the last word, because you were the genius who has suggested we invite Don Goble, and you were so right. Have the last word, my friend.
Just trying to count up how many people. I can't do it quick enough. But we need to be the rebels in our buildings. And I know, really, I'm preaching to the choir. You already are. But to get alkalites to join us in this battle and to really you know, all the think tanks are saying, hey, this is what we should be doing in education. Project-based learning, reaching out to community, displaying your work. We're it. And we just need to get people, we need to hold up that mirror so people can see it.
Oh my God, you guys, what fun. I can't think of a better way to spend the hour. Big round of applause. You guys rock. Thanks for participating in Virtually Viral Hangout. See, tomorrow, we talk more media literacy with Joyce and Scott and Pam. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for joining us today, Don.